Most of humanity lives under a terrible misconception. They believe that their desires are wishes cast into an empty void, hoping against hope that somehow, some way, these desires might manifest in their physical world. But I tell you tonight that this is not how creation works. Your desires are not desperate feelings to an indifferent universe. They are recognitions, acknowledgments of what already is. When you desire something, you are not creating that thing. You are discovering it. You are becoming aware of a reality that exists parallel to your current experience. Every desire that stirs within you is evidence of a fulfilled reality existing in what I call the infinite states of consciousness. The wealthy version of you already exists. The healthy version of you already exists. The loved, the successful, the fulfilled version of you already exists. All of these states are as real and as present as the state you currently occupy. But here is where most people stumble. They acknowledge their desire. They may even believe it exists somewhere, but they do not know how to receive it. They continue to live from the state of want, the state of lack, the state of hoping and wishing. And living from these states, they can only perpetuate more of the same. You cannot receive abundance while dwelling in the feeling of poverty. You cannot receive love while harboring the consciousness of rejection. You cannot receive health while maintaining the mental atmosphere of disease. The art of receiving requires a fundamental shift in your understanding of reality itself. You must come to know, not merely believe, that consciousness is the only reality. Everything you see, everything you experience, every circumstance in your life is nothing more than consciousness externalized. The outer world is simply consciousness made visible. When you truly grasp this, you realize that to change your outer world, you need only change your consciousness. Now, what do I mean by consciousness? I do not mean your thoughts, though thoughts play a role. I do not mean your emotions, though emotions are indicators. By consciousness, I mean your state of being, your habitual dwelling place, the feeling of being that you carry with you moment by moment. It is the sum total of all your beliefs, assumptions, and mental attitudes crystallized into a persistent state. To receive what you want, you must learn to dwell in the consciousness of having it. Not hoping to have it, not working towards having it, but having it now. This is perhaps the most challenging concept for the rational mind to accept, because the rational mind is trained to accept only what the senses report. But I ask you to consider this. Did your current circumstances exist before you experienced them? Of course they did in consciousness. Every building you see existed first in the consciousness of the architect. Every invention began in the consciousness of the inventor. Every relationship began in the consciousness of connection. The secret lies in learning to live from the end. Instead of living from your current circumstance and trying to change them, you must learn to live from the consciousness of your fulfilled desire. You must feel yourself to be the person who already has what you want. You must think from that state, not about that state. Let me illustrate this with a simple example. Suppose you desire financial abundance. The typical approach is to acknowledge your current lack of money and then try various methods to acquire more. You might work harder, you might invest, you might pray or affirm. But all of these approaches begin with the premise of lack. They are attempts to get something you don't have. And as long as you operate from the consciousness of not having, you will continue to create experiences that confirm your lack. The correct approach is to assume the feeling of financial abundance right now. How would you feel if you were financially free? What would be your mental attitude? How would you view the world around you? What assumptions would you hold about yourself and your relationship to money? You must capture this feeling, this state of consciousness, and make it your dwelling place. This is not pretending. This is not positive thinking. This is not self-deception. This is recognizing and accepting a reality that exists beyond the narrow scope of your current sensory experience. The financially abundant version of you exists right now in what we might call a parallel reality. By assuming the consciousness of that version of yourself, you begin to merge with that reality. You begin to receive what has always been yours. But receiving is not a one-time event. It is a continuous process of maintaining the consciousness of having. Most people make the mistake of assuming their desired state for a few moments and then returning to their habitual consciousness of lack. They plant the seed and then immediately dig it up to see if it thrives in. They assume abundance in the morning and return to poverty consciousness by afternoon. Receiving requires persistence. It requires what I call living in the assumption. You must assume your desire is fulfilled and continue to assume it until it becomes natural to you. At first it may feel strange or even false to assume you have what your senses tell you that you lack. But with practice, this new assumption becomes familiar, then comfortable, then natural. And when it becomes natural, when it becomes your new normal state of consciousness, then it must and will externalize in your physical experience. The universe has no choice but to conform to your consciousness. This is not a belief system, this is a law, as immutable as the law of gravity. Consciousness is the cause, and the external world is the effect. Change the cause, and the effect must change. Assume the consciousness of having your desire, and you must receive it in your outer experience. Now, I want to address a common obstacle that prevents people from receiving what they want. It is the belief in unworthiness. So many of you have been conditioned to believe that you must earn what you desire, that you must prove yourself worthy of your good. But I tell you that you were born worthy. Your very existence is proof of your worthiness. The fact that you can desire something is evidence that it belongs to you. God, the creative power of the universe, does not withhold good from anyone. There are no favorites in the realm of consciousness. The same power that creates abundance for one can create abundance for all. The same power that manifests love for one can manifest love for all. You do not need to earn what is already yours by divine right. Your only task is to accept it, to receive it, to allow it to flow into your experience. And you do this by assuming the consciousness of already having it. When you assume you are wealthy, you think the thoughts of a wealthy person. When you assume you are loved, you feel the feelings of a beloved person. When you assume you are healthy, you carry yourself with the vitality of perfect health. This assumption is not based on current evidence. In fact, it often contradicts current evidence. This is why it requires faith, not faith in some external deity, but faith in the creative power of your own consciousness. You must be willing to assume your good in the face of contrary evidence. You must be willing to feel wealthy when your bank account suggests poverty. You must be willing to feel loved when your circumstances suggest loneliness. You must be willing to feel successful when your current situation suggests failure. This is the test of faith. Can you assume what you desire in spite of what you observe? Can you maintain the consciousness of having when your senses scream that you lack? This is a narrow gate that leads to fulfillment. Most people cannot pass through it because they trust their senses more than they trust their consciousness. But you must understand that your senses only report the past. What you see and experience now is the result of yesterday's consciousness. If you want to change tomorrow's experience, you must change today's consciousness. You must learn to disregard the evidence of your senses when it contradicts your desired state and rely instead on the evidence of your assumption. This brings us to the practice of receiving. How do you actually assume the consciousness of having what you want? The most effective method is through the use of imagination. Your imagination is not fantasy, it is the creative power of God within you. Through imagination, you can experience any state of consciousness as vividly as you experience your current state. Each night as you prepare for sleep, use your imagination to assume the fulfillment of your desire. If you want abundance, imagine counting money, paying bills with ease, making generous donations. If you want love, imagine intimate conversations, shared laughter, the feeling of being cherished. If you want health, imagine vigorous activity, compliments on your appearance, the sensation of perfect vitality. The key is to make these imaginal acts as real and as natural as possible. Do not imagine from the perspective of an observer watching yourself have these experiences. Imagine from the first-person perspective. See through your own eyes, hear through your own ears, feel through your own body. Make the imaginal experience so vivid that it becomes more real to you than your current circumstances. As you practice this night after night, you will begin to feel a shift in your consciousness. The assumption will start to feel natural. You will catch yourself thinking from the new state during your waking hours. You will find yourself making decisions and taking actions that align with your assumed reality. This is evidence that the assumption is taking root in your consciousness. But do not make the mistake of looking for immediate external confirmation. The physical world takes time to rearrange itself to match your now through consciousness. Be patient. Continue to assume. Continue to live from the end. The external change will come, but it must begin within you first. There is another important aspect of receiving that I must address, and that is the matter of resistance. Often, when people begin to assume a new state of consciousness, they encounter internal resistance. Old beliefs, old fears, old patterns of thinking rise up to challenge the new assumption. This is natural and expected. Do not be discouraged by it. When you encounter resistance, do not fight it. Fighting resistance only strengthens it. Instead, gently return to your assumption. When negative thoughts arise, do not argue with them or try to prove them wrong. Simply assume their opposite. When fear whispers that you cannot have what you want, assume that you already have it. When doubt suggests that your desire is impossible, assume that it has already manifested. Remember, you are not trying to convince your rational mind of anything. Your rational mind will find 1,000 reasons why your assumption is unrealistic. You are working at a deeper level, at the level of consciousness itself. At this level, there is no impossible, only assumed and not assumed. The art of receiving also requires that you maintain a state of gratitude. Not gratitude for what you hope to receive, but gratitude for what you have already received in consciousness. When you assume the fulfillment of your desire, you must also assume the gratitude that would naturally accompany that fulfillment. Feel thankful for your abundance, your love, your health, your success, whatever it is you desire. This gratitude is not an attempt to earn what you want through appreciation. You already have what you want in consciousness. The gratitude is simply an acknowledgement of that fact. It is the natural emotional response to having your desire fulfilled. And when you feel this gratitude consistently, it becomes evidence to your subconscious mind that the assumption is real. As you continue to practice the art of receiving, you will notice that your external world begins to shift in subtle ways. Opportunities will appear that were not there before. People will enter your life who can help you. Resources will become available that were previously hidden. These are not coincidences. They are the natural result of your changed consciousness seeking to express itself in physical form. But here is a crucial point. Do not become attached to how your good comes to you. Do not limit the ways in which the universe can deliver your desire. Your job is to assume the consciousness of having. It is the universe's job to work out the details of how it manifests. Trust in the wisdom of the creative process. Allow it to surprise you with its ingenuity. Sometimes your good will come through channels you never could have imagined. Sometimes it will come through people you never would have expected. Sometimes it will come in forms slightly different from what you originally envisioned, but perfectly suited to your true needs. Remain open to all possibilities. Do not insist that your desire manifests in exactly the way you think it should. There is also the matter of timing. Many people assume their desired state for a while and then become impatient when it does not immediately externalize. They begin to doubt the process and often abandon their assumption just before it is ready to manifest. This is perhaps the greatest tragedy in the realm of manifestation. Understand that there is a gestation period for every assumption. Just as a seed planted in the ground takes time to sprout and grow, an assumption planted in consciousness takes time to externalize. The length of this gestation period depends on several factors. How natural the assumption feels to you, how consistently you maintain it, and how much it differs from your previous state of consciousness. A small change in consciousness might manifest quickly, while a dramatic transformation might take longer. But time is irrelevant when you are living from the consciousness of already having what you want. When you truly assume your desire is fulfilled, you are not waiting for it to happen. You are enjoying it now in consciousness. This brings us to one of the most profound aspects of receiving, the realization that the thing desired is not really the goal. The goal is the state of consciousness, the feeling of being that the thing would bring. When you desire wealth, you are really desiring the feeling of security, freedom, and abundance that wealth represents. When you desire love, you are really desiring the feeling of connection, acceptance, and joy that love brings. When you desire health, you are really desiring the feeling of vitality, energy, and well-being that health provides. Here is the beautiful truth. You can have these feelings now, simply by assuming them. You do not need to wait for the external thing to appear before you can feel abundant, loved, or healthy. In fact, you must feel these things first, and then the external manifestation will follow. This is why the practice of receiving is so liberating. You do not have to wait for your circumstances to change before you can feel good. You can feel good now by assuming the consciousness of your fulfilled desire. And when you feel good now, you magnetize experiences that will justify and sustain that good feeling. Many people resist this approach because they believe it is unrealistic or dishonest to feel good when their circumstances suggest they should feel bad. But I ask you, which is more real, the temporary circumstances that surround you, or the eternal consciousness that creates those circumstances, which is more honest, to feel bad because of current conditions, or to feel good because of the unlimited potential within you? Your circumstances are constantly changing. They are fluid, temporary, subject to the shifts in your consciousness. But your consciousness, your I am, is permanent, eternal, divine. When you learn to identify with your consciousness rather than your circumstances, you discover that you have the power to change any condition, to create any experience, to receive any good thing. This is the ultimate truth about receiving. You are not a victim of circumstances waiting for rescue. You are the creator of circumstances, constantly expressing your consciousness in physical form. Everything you want already exists in the infinite field of possibilities that is consciousness. Your job is not to create it, but to select it, not to manifest it, but to accept it, not to achieve it, but to receive it. As you learn to live from this understanding, your entire relationship with desire changes. Desire is no longer a source of suffering, a reminder of what you lack. Desire becomes a gift, a signal from your higher self pointing you toward a reality that already exists and is ready to be claimed. Every desire is an invitation to expand your consciousness, to assume a greater version of yourself. And when you accept this invitation, when you assume the consciousness of your desire fulfilled, you join the ranks of those who have liberated the supreme art of living, the art of receiving. You become one who walks through life knowing that every good thing is already yours, that every dream is already realized, that every wish is already granted. You need only to assume it, to accept it, to receive it. This is the message I leave with you tonight. Stop trying to get what you want and start receiving what you already have. Stop struggling to become who you want to be and start being who you already are in consciousness. Stop looking to the future for your fulfillment and start accepting the fulfillment that exists in this eternal now. Everything you want already exists. The wealthy you, the healthy you, the loved you, the successful you, all exist right now in consciousness. These are not potential realities waiting to be created. They are actual realities waiting to be received. And you receive them by assuming them, by feeling them to be true, by living from the consciousness of their fulfillment. This is not a technique to be practiced occasionally. This is a way of life to be embraced completely. When you fully understand that consciousness is the only reality, that imagination creates reality, that assumption creates facts, then you will never again feel helpless in the face of unwanted circumstances. You will know that you have the power to assume any state, to receive any good, to become any version of yourself that you can imagine. The art of receiving is the art of assuming. And the art of assuming is the art of living deliberately, consciously, divinely. It is the art of recognizing that you are not a human being hoping to have a spiritual experience, but a spiritual being having a human experience. It is the art of remembering that you are not separate from the creative power of the universe, but one with it, expressing it, embodying it in every moment. So I say to you, assume you're good. Feel your desires to be already fulfilled. Live from the end of your every wish. Do this not occasionally, not when you remember, not when you feel like it, but consistently, persistently, faithfully. Make it your habitual state of consciousness. Make it your normal way of being. Make it as natural as breathing. When you do this, you will discover what the mystics of all ages have known, that the kingdom of heaven is within you, that all things are possible to consciousness, that you and the Father are one. You will know the truth that sets you free, the truth that everything you want already exists, and that your only work is to learn the divine art of receiving it. This is your birthright. This is your inheritance. This is your destiny. Not to struggle and hope and wish, but to assume and receive and enjoy. Not to be at the mercy of circumstances, but to be the creator of circumstances. Not to wonder if your dreams will come true, but to know that they already are true in the only place that matters, in consciousness. Embrace this truth. Live this truth. Become this truth. And as you do, we'll find that life becomes not a battle to be fought, but a gift to be received. You will find that every day brings new evidence of your assumptions made manifest. You will find that the universe conspires to confirm your every assumption of good. This is the promise I make to you. Live from the consciousness of having what you want, and you must receive it in your experience. This is not hope, this is law. This is not possibility, this is certainty. This is not theory, this is the way the universe works. Everything you want already exists. Your work is to receive it, and you receive it by assuming it, by feeling it to be true now, by living from the end of your every desire. This is the art of receiving. This is the secret of manifestation. This is the way of consciousness. Go now and receive your good. Assume your desires fulfilled. Live from the end. And watch as your wonderful imagination pushes out into your world of experience everything you have assumed to be true. The power is within you. The kingdom is within you. Everything you want is within you, waiting only for your recognition and acceptance. Receive it now. Assume it now. Live it now. For now is the only time there is, and consciousness is the only reality there is. And you are the consciousness in which all things exist and from which all things come. This is your truth. This is your power. This is your way of receiving everything you want. For everything you want already exists in the infinite creativity of your own divine consciousness. The very fact that you are here tonight suggests that something within you knows there is more. Something in you recognizes that the state of consciousness in which you dwell is not the final chapter of your story. And you are absolutely right. For no state is final unless you decree it to be so. The magnificent truth I wish to share with you tonight is that freedom, complete and total freedom, is your natural inheritance. It is the fundamental reality of your being. And the path to claiming this freedom is not outside of you, but within the divine operation of your own wonderful human imagination. Let me share with you a profound truth that changed my life and has transformed the lives of countless others who have tested it and found it to be the one grand law of life. Consciousness is the one and only reality. Everything that you perceive, everything that makes up your world, is nothing more than your consciousness pushed out. The world that seems to hold you captive is but a reflection of your own states of consciousness made visible. The prison that appears to constrain you exists nowhere but in your own imagination. When you truly grasp this principle, not merely intellectually, but in the very depths of your being, you will understand that the key to your freedom has been in your possession all along. For if consciousness is the only reality, and your world is simply consciousness objectified, then to change your world, you need only change your consciousness. This is the divine art of assumption. By assuming the feeling of your wish fulfilled, you can transform the shadow world of limitation into the substance of freedom. Many people come to me and say, Neville, I understand these principles. I grasp them intellectually, but still I feel stuck. I cannot seem to break free from my circumstances. And to this I reply, the feeling of being stuck persists because you have not yet made real to yourself the truth that you are pure consciousness, pure awareness, and that this consciousness is the only reality. You have not fully accepted that the world and all its circumstances are mere reflections, mere shadows of your own magnificent inner states. Consider for a moment what it means to be stuck. To be stuck implies that there is something external to you, something outside of your control, that is restraining your movement, limiting your options, confining your existence. But I tell you with absolute certainty, there is nothing outside of consciousness. There is nothing external to you, for you are consciousness, and consciousness is all there is. The walls you perceive around you, the limitations you feel so acutely, exist only because you have granted them reality in your consciousness. Tonight, I invite you to make a revolutionary discovery. You are not stuck because of external circumstances. You are experiencing the state of being stuck because you are dwelling in that state in consciousness. And just as you can enter a state, you can exit it. Just as you can assume one state of consciousness, you can assume another. This is the miracle of your being the power to choose the state in which you will dwell. Let me share with you a simple yet profound practice that will begin to dissolve the illusion of being stuck. Right now, wherever you are, close your eyes for a moment. Take a deep breath and relax your body completely. Now, in your imagination, see yourself as you would be if you were completely free. Feel the feeling of that freedom. What would it feel like to move without restriction? How would you carry yourself if all limitations were gone? What thoughts would fill your mind if you knew yourself to be absolutely free? Dwell in this state. Saturate yourself with the feeling of freedom. Make it so real, so vivid, that for a moment you forget the old state of being stuck. In that moment of complete absorption in the state of freedom, you have planted a seed in the fertile soil of your consciousness, and what you plant must grow. What you assume must become. But perhaps you're thinking, I've tried this before, and nothing changed. To this I would remind you of a principle I often emphasize. The time track is a device of the human mind. In the realm of consciousness, in the realm of true causation, there is no time. The seed planted in consciousness will blossom in your world when the conditions are ripe, when the bridge of incidents has been crossed. Your role is not to make the seed grow. Your role is not to force the manifestation. Your role is simply to plant the seed through the art of assumption and to remain faithful to that assumption despite all evidence to the contrary. For remember, the evidence of your senses only tells you what is, it cannot tell you what will be. And what will be is determined not by what is, but by the state you occupy in consciousness. In my own life, I have tested this law countless times, and it has never failed me. I recall a time when I felt completely constrained by financial limitations. All the evidence of my senses told me that I was trapped in poverty, that there was no way out. But instead of accepting this as my final state, I began to assume the feeling of wealth and abundance. I would fall asleep each night feeling the joy and relief of financial freedom. I would walk through my days carrying myself as one who was abundantly supplied. I did not deny the facts of my current situation, but I refused to give them power over my consciousness. And then seemingly out of nowhere, opportunities began to present themselves. Doors began to open that I could not have anticipated. People entered my life bearing gifts that aligned perfectly with my needs. The bridge of incidents formed itself, leading me from the state of financial constraint to the state of abundance I had assumed in consciousness. This is the law that governs all manifestation. Consciousness is the only reality, and what you experience in the outer world is simply consciousness objectified. Therefore, to change your experience, you must change your consciousness. But changing consciousness is not a matter of positive thinking or wishful hoping. It is not about affirming affirmations or repeating mantras. It is about entering so completely into the state of your wish fulfilled that you temporarily forget all other states. It is about making your desired state so vivid, so real in your imagination that it displaces your awareness of the unwanted state. Let me offer you a practical approach to this divine art of assumption. Tonight, when you retire to sleep, lie upon your bed and relax your body completely. Then, in your imagination, construct a scene that would imply your freedom from whatever condition has made you feel stuck. Make this scene as vivid and as real as you possibly can. For instance, if you feel stuck in a job that drains your energy and stifles your creativity, imagine a conversation with a friend in which you share your excitement about your new position, one that fulfills you and allows your talents to flourish. Hear your friend's congratulations. Feel the handshake or the embrace. Experience the relief and joy of having transcended the old limitation. Or perhaps you feel stuck in a relationship pattern that brings you pain. Imagine instead a conversation in which you describe to a trusted friend the wonderful harmony and love you now experience. Feel the satisfaction of having moved beyond the old pattern into a new state of mutual respect and affection. Whatever the specific circumstance that has made you feel stuck, create a scene that would naturally follow if you were now free from that limitation. Enter fully into this imaginal scene. Make it so real that for a brief time you forget you are imagining. Feel the feelings that the fulfilled wish would bring. Then, carrying this feeling, drift off to sleep. In doing this, you are planting the seed of your fertile in a fertile soil of consciousness. You are impressing upon the subconscious mind, which knows no limitations and possesses the power to transform your world, the reality of your wish fulfilled. And what is impressed upon the subconscious must be expressed in your world. Some of you may wonder, how long must I persist in this practice before I see results? The answer is you persist until the feeling of your wish fulfilled becomes more real to you than the feeling of being stuck. You persist until you have displaced the old state completely and dwell naturally in the new state. For some, this displacement may occur in a single night of profound imagining. For others, it may require repeated sessions of entering the state of the wish fulfilled. But know this, the law is infallible. What you assume you must become. What you impress upon consciousness, consciousness must express. Remember, time is a construct of the human mind. In the realm of true causation, the realm of consciousness, there is no time. The seed planted today may flower tomorrow, or next week, or next month. Your task is not to set the timetable for manifestation. Your task is simply to plant the seed with conviction and to tend it with fidelity to your assumption. Now, I understand that for many of you, the feeling of being stuck has persisted for so long that it seems like an unchangeable fact of your existence. Perhaps you've tried various methods to break free: positive thinking, goal setting, seeking advice from experts, and still the walls remain. This persistent experience can make it difficult to believe that freedom is truly possible for you. But I ask you to consider this. The very fact that you can conceive of freedom proves that it exists within your consciousness. And if it exists within your consciousness, it can be made manifest in your world. For consciousness is the only reality, and what exists in consciousness must, by the law of assumption, be expressed in experience. The Bible, when properly understood as a psychological drama rather than a historical document, reveals this truth. When the psalmist says, "He brought me forth also into a large place, he delivered me, because he delighted in me," he is describing the movement from a state of confinement to a state of freedom that occurs when one delights in or fully occupies a new state of consciousness. And in Isaiah we read, "Enlarge the place of thy tent, and let them stretch forth the curtains of thine habitation. Spare not, lengthen thy cords, and strengthen thy stakes." This is not a command to physically expand one's dwelling. It is an invitation to expand consciousness, to move beyond the limited state in which one has been dwelling and to occupy a larger, more expansive state. This expansion of consciousness is the true meaning of freedom. It is not merely freedom from external constraints, though that will follow, but freedom from the limited concepts, self and world, that have kept you bound to unwanted conditions. Consider the story of the Exodus, which is often read as a historical account of the Israelites' liberation from slavery in Egypt. But on a deeper level, it is the story of consciousness liberating itself from the bondage of limiting beliefs and assumptions. Egypt represents the state of limitation, the state of being stuck. And the journey to the promised land represents the movement of consciousness from limitation to freedom. But note well, before the Israelites could physically leave Egypt, they had to leave it in consciousness. They had to believe in the possibility of freedom before freedom could become their experience. This is the pattern of all liberation, first in consciousness, then in manifestation. So tonight, I invite you to begin your exodus from the Egypt of limitation. I invite you to cross the Red Sea of impossibility and to enter the wilderness of transformation, trusting that the promised land of your freedom awaits you. But how does one begin this journey? How does one take the first step toward freedom when feeling so completely stuck? The answer lies in the art of revision, the practice of mentally rewriting the events of your day to align with the state you wish to occupy. Each night, before you enter into the state of your wish fulfilled as you fall asleep, take a few moments to review the events of your day. Identify moments when you felt particularly stuck, when the walls seemed especially confining. Now, in your imagination, rewrite these events. See them unfolding differently. Feel how you would have felt if, in those moments, you had experienced freedom rather than limitation. For instance, if during the day you had a conversation in which you felt small and powerless, revise that conversation. In your imagination, see yourself speaking with confidence and authority. Feel the satisfaction of expressing yourself fully and being received with respect. Or if you encountered a circumstance that seemed to confirm your state of being stuck, revise that circumstance. See it unfolding in a way that confirms your freedom instead. This practice of revision serves two powerful purposes. First, it prevents the accumulation of impressions that would reinforce the unwanted state. By revising the events of your day, you are ensuring that your subconscious is not being continually impressed with the feeling of being stuck. Second, it actively impresses upon the subconscious the feeling of the state you wish to occupy, the state of freedom. Over time, this practice will transform your habitual state of consciousness. And as your consciousness transforms, so must your world transform, for your world is nothing more than your consciousness objectified. But perhaps the most challenging aspect of this practice is maintaining fidelity to your new assumption in the face of persisting evidence to the contrary. The world, being a shadow of past states of consciousness, will for a time continue to reflect the old state, even as you begin to dwell in the new. This persistence of the old reality can test your faith in the law, tempting you to abandon your assumption and return to the familiar, if unwanted, state of being stuck. This is why I emphasize the importance of dwelling in the state of the wish fulfilled with such intensity, such completeness, that for those moments at least, the old state is entirely forgotten. For it is in these moments of complete absorption in the new state that the most powerful impressions are made upon the subconscious. I recall a student of mine who had been confined to a wheelchair for many years following an accident. All medical opinion confirmed that his condition was permanent. Yet night after night, he would enter into the state of being whole and active. In his imagination, he would dance, run, climb stairs with ease. He would feel the strength in his legs, the freedom of movement, the joy of physical activity. For months, there was no visible change in his condition. The evidence of his senses continued to testify to his limitation, but he remained faithful to his assumption. He continued to revise his days, replacing moments of limitation with imaginal experiences of freedom. He continued to fall asleep each night in the state of his wish fulfilled. And then, gradually, things began to change. Sensation began to return to parts of his body that had been numb. Small movements became possible where there had been none. Medical professionals were baffled but confirmed the changes. And over time, through what they called a miraculous recovery, he regained the full use of his body. Was this a miracle in the supernatural sense? No. It was the natural operation of the law of consciousness. He had so completely revised his concept of himself, so thoroughly impressed upon the subconscious the state of being whole and free, that the subconscious had no choice but to express this new concept in his physical experience. This same law operates in every sphere of your life. Whether you feel stuck in health, in wealth, in relationships, in career, the way out is the same. You must revise your concept of self. You must exchange your limited self-concept for an expanded one. And you must do this not merely as an intellectual exercise, but as a vivid, feelingful experience in imagination. For imagination is not, as many suppose, a faculty for daydreaming or escapism. Imagination is nothing less than consciousness itself in its creative aspect. It is the God power within you, the I am clothed in the specific forms of your assumptions. When you say, I am stuck, you are not merely describing your condition, you are invoking the creative power of the I am to produce and sustain that condition. And when you say, I am free, you are invoking that same power to produce and sustain freedom. The I am in you will become whatever you attach to it through feeling. This is why feelings are so crucial in the law of assumption. It is not enough to intellectually understand that you are not truly stuck, that the limitations you perceive are illusions of consciousness. You must feel your freedom. You must experience it so vividly in imagination that the feeling of being stuck is displaced completely, if only for a moment. Some may argue, but Neville, the circumstances that make me feel stuck are real. They are not merely in my imagination. To this I would reply, yes, the circumstances appear real because they are the objectification of previous states of consciousness. They are the shadow cast by the light of consciousness. But shadows, no matter how dark they appear, cannot persist in the presence of light. When you shift your consciousness from the state of being stuck to the state of being free, you are turning on the light. And though the shadow may not disappear instantly, it must eventually give way to the light. For that is the law of consciousness. I invite you to test this law for yourself. Do not take my word for it. Do not believe it merely because it appeals to you intellectually. Test it in the laboratory of your own life. Apply the principles I have shared with you tonight to some area where you feel stuck, and observe the results with the detachment of a scientist. Begin tonight. When you retire to sleep, revise the events of your day that reinforce the feeling of being stuck. Then enter fully into a scene that implies your freedom. Make it vivid. Feel it deeply. Carry this feeling as you drift off to sleep. Do this night after night, and watch how your world begins to transform. Notice how opportunities appear that were not there before. Observe how circumstances rearrange themselves to accommodate your new state of consciousness. Marvel at the bridge of incidents that forms itself, leading you from the state of being stuck to the state of freedom you have assumed in consciousness. But a word of caution, do not look for signs too eagerly in the beginning. Do not dig up the seed to see if it is growing. Allow the law to operate in its own time and in its own way. Your role is to plant the seed through assumption and to nurture it through fidelity to that assumption. The law will take care of the manifestation. I am reminded of a beautiful passage from Ecclesiastes. In the morning sow thy seed, and in the evening withhold not thine hand, for thou knowest not whether shall prosper, either this or that, or whether they both shall be alike good. Sow the seed of your assumption in the morning of your consciousness, and sow it again in the evening. Do not try to determine which particular act of sowing will produce the harvest. Trust the law to bring forth the manifestation in its own perfect time. There is another aspect of the feeling of being stuck that I wish to address, for it can be particularly pernicious. Often the feeling of being stuck is accompanied by a sense of unworthiness, a belief that one does not deserve freedom, or that one has somehow caused one's own imprisonment through past mistakes or failures. This sense of unworthiness is itself a state of consciousness, and like all states, it can be exchanged for another. You need not justify your desire for freedom. You need not earn the right to live the life you wish to live. Freedom is your natural inheritance. It is the fundamental reality of your being. To claim it, you need only assume it as yours. In the scripture we read, your Father has pleased to give you the kingdom. The kingdom, the realm of infinite possibility, of complete freedom, is already yours. It has already been given to you. Your task is not to earn it, but to accept it, to assume it, to enter into it through the portal of your imagination. So tonight, as you lie down to sleep, let go of all thoughts on unworthiness. Release all beliefs that you must somehow qualify for the freedom you desire. Instead, assume the feeling of already being the person you wish to be, already living the life you wish to live, already possessing the freedom you seek. For in the realm of consciousness, in the realm of the real, there is no process of becoming. There is only being. You do not become free. You recognize the freedom that has always been yours. You do not achieve the fulfillment of your desires. You awaken to the fulfillment that has always existed within you. This is the great mystery to which all spiritual teachings point. What you are seeking, you already are. What you desire to possess, you already possess. The journey is not one of acquisition, but of recognition. When you truly understand this, the feeling of being stuck dissolves like mist in the morning sun. For how can you be stuck when you are consciousness itself? And consciousness is unlimited. How can you be confined when your true identity is the I am? And the I am knows no restrictions. Let me share with you one more practice that can help to dissolve the feeling of being stuck. Throughout your day, whenever you catch yourself feeling limited or confined, pause and ask yourself this question: what would the feeling be like if I were now the person I desire to be? How would I see this circumstance if I were now free from all limitations? Then for just a moment, assume that feeling. Enter into it completely. Let it permeate your being. This momentary assumption, repeated throughout your day, will gradually transform your habitual state of consciousness. And as your consciousness transforms, so must your world transform. Remember the words attributed to Jesus: the truth shall make you free. But what is this truth that liberates? It is the truth of your own being, that you are pure consciousness, that you are the operant power, that the world is your consciousness pushed out. When you know this truth not merely intellectually, but through the direct experience of testing it in your own life, you will never again feel permanently stuck in any circumstance. For you will have discovered the secret of liberation. The prison that seemed to confine you was built by your own imagination. And what imagination has constructed, imagination can deconstruct. The walls that appeared so solid were made of assumptions, and assumptions can be changed. This is the freedom I offer you tonight, not freedom from certain circumstances, but freedom from the belief that circumstances have power over you. Not freedom from conditions, but freedom from the assumption that conditions can contain the infinite being that you are. Test this law of assumption. Apply it to your own feeling of being stuck. Enter fully into the state of your wish fulfilled, and observe how the universe rearranges itself to accommodate your new concept of self. For that is the promise of the law. As a man assumes, so he becomes. And know this, there is no limitation in consciousness itself. The only limitations are those you accept through your assumptions. Therefore, assume freedom, and freedom must become your experience. Assume abundance, and abundance must flow into your life. Assume love, and love must surround you. For consciousness is the only reality, and what you assume in consciousness must be made manifest in your world. The choice is yours. You can continue to assume the state of being stuck, and your experience will continue to validate that assumption. Or you can assume the state of freedom, and watch as the universe conspires to make that assumption a reality. Begin tonight. As you fall asleep, enter so completely into the feeling of your wish fulfilled that the feeling of being stuck is utterly forgotten. Do this night after night and test the law for yourself. For the promise is true. If you know these things, happy are you if you do them. The practice I have outlined for you is simple, but it requires discipline and persistence. It requires that you be faithful to your assumption, even when all the evidence of your senses contradicts it. But the rewards of this faithfulness are beyond measure. For in assuming the state of freedom, you are not merely changing your circumstances, you are awakening to the truth of your being. You are recognizing the divine power that has been yours from the beginning. This recognition is the true meaning of salvation, not salvation from an external threat, but salvation from the limited concept of self that has kept you bound to unwanted conditions. It is awakening to the truth that sets you free. So tonight, as you leave this place, carry with you this knowledge. The feeling of being stuck is not your natural state. It is an assumed condition. And what has been assumed can be relinquished. Freedom is your birthright, your natural inheritance, the fundamental reality of your being. Claim it through the divine art of assumption, and watch as the prison walls that seem so solid dissolve like shadows in the light of your own awakened consciousness. For you are not a prisoner unless you believe yourself to be one. You are not stuck unless you assume yourself to be stuck. You are free eternally, completely free when you awaken to the truth of your own infinite being. Begin the practice tonight. Enter the state of freedom through the portal of your imagination. Feel it with all the intensity you can muster. And know that as you assume this state, as you make it real in your consciousness, it must become real in your experience. For that is the law. That is the promise. That is the truth that sets you free. Remember always, consciousness is the only reality, and you are consciousness. Therefore, you are the reality behind all appearances. You are the power that shapes your world. You are the freedom you seek. Go now and test this truth for yourself. For in testing it, you will discover the greatest secret of all. The key to your freedom has been in your possession all along. It is your own wonderful human imagination, the God power within you, clothed in the specific forms of your assumptions. Use this power wisely. Use it lovingly. Use it to liberate yourself from all limitations. And as you experience the freedom that is your natural state, share this knowledge with others who still feel stuck, that they too might awaken to the truth of their being. For this is why we are here, not merely to seek our own liberation, but to help awaken all humanity to the glorious truth that sets everyone free. The truth that there is no power outside of consciousness. The truth that what we assume we become. The truth that freedom is not a destination to be reached, but a present reality to be recognized. So tonight, assume the state of freedom. Feel its reality. Live from it. And watch as your world transforms to reflect the new concept of self you have assumed. For that is the promise of the law. Be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind. The renewal begins tonight in the quiet sanctuary of your own imagination. It begins with the simple but profound act of assuming the feeling of your wish fulfilled. It begins with the recognition that the prison that seemed to confine you was built of assumptions, and what has been built can be dismantled. The tools are in your hands. The power is within you. The choice is yours. Choose freedom. Choose it now, not as a future possibility, but as a present reality. Feel its presence. Embody its truth. And from this new state of consciousness, watch as the universe conspires to set you free. For that is the law. That is the promise. That is the truth that liberates all who discover it and apply it in their lives. The feeling of being stuck is not your natural state. Freedom is your birthright. Claim it through the divine art of assumption, and it must become your experience. For consciousness is the only reality, and you are consciousness itself, expressing in the specific forms of your assumptions. Assume freedom, and freedom shall be yours. This is the law. This is the promise. This is the truth that sets you free. The secret I am about to share with you is this. Your imagination is the creative power of the universe, and what you assume to be true will invariably manifest in your reality. This is not metaphor or allegory, but the very foundation of existence itself. You are not merely experiencing reality, you are creating it in every moment through the power of your assumptions and beliefs. Now you might be wondering, Neville, if this is true, why am I not already living my ideal life? And therein lies the crux of our discussion today. Most people are unaware of this creative power within them. They live their lives reacting to external circumstances, not realizing that these very circumstances are the outpicturing of their inner states. You see, the world you experience is not happening to you. It is happening from you. Every circumstance, every event, every interaction in your life is a reflection of your inner assumptions. These assumptions are like seeds planted in the fertile soil of your subconscious mind. And just as a seed grows into a plant, your assumptions grow into your experienced reality. This is why many people find themselves stuck in patterns of lack, of struggle, of not enoughness. They have unknowingly been planting these seeds in their subconscious mind through years of repetitive thoughts and feelings of limitation. But here's the liberating truth. You have the power to choose what seeds you plant. You have the ability to consciously assume the state of your wish fulfilled, regardless of your current circumstances. So how do we begin this process of conscious creation? The first step is to clearly define what you wish to experience. Be specific. Don't simply say, I want to be successful. Instead, imagine in vivid detail what your life looks like when you are living your ideal reality. How do you feel? What are you doing? How do you spend your time? The more specific and detailed your vision, the more clearly you communicate with your subconscious mind. Once you have this clear vision, the next step is to assume the feeling of your wish fulfilled. This is crucial. You must feel the reality of your desire now, not in some distant future. Remember, your subconscious mind doesn't understand time. It only understands the present moment. So if you constantly feel that your desire is something in the future, it will always remain in the future. Instead, assume the feeling of your wish fulfilled now. How would you feel if your desire were already realized? Would you feel joyful, confident, free, grateful? Embody these feelings. Live from this state of being. This is not pretending or lying to yourself. This is assuming a new state of consciousness, which is the very essence of creation. Now, some of you may be thinking, but Neville, how can I feel something that isn't yet true? This is where the power of your imagination comes into play. Your imagination is the bridge between your current reality and your desired state. It is through your imagination that you can step into the feeling of your wish fulfilled, even before it manifests in the physical world. Your imagination is not a flight of fancy or a frivolous faculty. It is the very workshop wherein you fashion your future. When you imagine, you are experiencing reality at its most fundamental level. You are engaging with the pure potential of consciousness, shaping it with your attention and your assumption. To use your imagination effectively, you must first quiet your conscious mind. The chattering of your daily thoughts, your worries, your doubts, these must be silenced. Enter a state of relaxation, a state akin to sleep, but in which you remain consciously aware. In this state, your subconscious mind becomes more receptive to impression. Once in this relaxed state, construct your scene. This scene should be one that implies the fulfillment of your desire. If your desire is for a successful career, you might imagine yourself in your ideal office or receiving congratulations from colleagues. If it's financial abundance you seek, imagine yourself looking at your bank statement with joy and gratitude. The scene itself should be short and simple. It's not about creating an elaborate story, but about capturing a moment that implies your desire is now a fact. This scene is your platform, the stage upon which you will enact the feeling of your wish fulfilled. Now, step into this scene. Don't watch it as a spectator, but experience it from the first-person perspective. Be there in that moment. And as you experience it, let the feeling of fulfillment wash over you. Feel the gratitude, the joy, the satisfaction of having your desire realized. This is where many falter in their attempts at manifestation. They can see the scene clearly, but they fail to evoke the feeling. Remember, it is the feeling that gives life to your imaginal act. Without feeling, visualization is merely a mental exercise. With feeling, it becomes an act of creation. As you practice this, you may find that the feeling comes more easily with repetition. Each time you return to your scene, the feeling becomes more vivid, more real. This is good. You are strengthening the impression upon your subconscious mind. But here's a crucial point. Once you have evoked the feeling, once you have impressed it upon your subconscious, you must carry it with you into your waking life. This is where many stumble. They do their visualization exercise. They feel it intensely in the moment. But then they return to their daily life and fall back into old patterns of thought and feeling. To manifest your desire to keep winning, you must maintain the feeling of your wish fulfilled, even in the face of contradictory evidence. This is where faith comes in. Not blind faith, but faith born of understanding, understanding that your outer world is a reflection of your inner state. When you truly grasp this, you will no longer be swayed by appearances. You will know that what you see around you is the effect, not the cause. The cause lies in your consciousness, in your feeling. And as you persist in the feeling of your wish fulfilled, your outer world must reshape itself to match this inner conviction. Now let us address a common challenge in this practice, the apparent contradictions of your senses. As you begin to live in the feeling of your wish fulfilled, you may find that your current circumstances seem to contradict your assumption. How do you maintain your feeling in the face of these seeming contradictions? This is where the art of ignoring comes into play. To ignore is not to deny the existence of something, but to refrain from giving it your attention and energy. When contradictory evidence appears, acknowledge it briefly, then immediately return your attention to the feeling of your wish fulfilled. Remember, what you see in your outer world is the result of past assumptions, past feelings. It is like an echo of what you once believed. Your task now is to give more attention, more importance, more reality to your new assumption than to these outdated circumstances. This practice requires mental discipline. It requires you to stand firm in your new assumption even when your senses argue against it. But remember, your senses only show you what has been, not what can be. Your imagination, informed by your feelings, shows you what will be. As you persist in maintaining the feeling of your wish fulfilled, even in the face of contradictory evidence, you will begin to see changes in your outer world. These changes may start small. A fortunate coincidence, an unexpected opportunity, a shift in someone's behavior towards you. Do not dismiss these as mere chance. They are the first fruits of your new assumption taking root. Now let us delve deeper into the nature of feeling in manifestation. When I speak of feeling, I am not referring merely to impatience, though emotions play a part. I am speaking of a deeper sense, a knowing, an unshakable conviction. It is the difference between saying I want to be successful and knowing in the very core of your being I am successful. This feeling conviction is not something you can fake or force. It arises naturally when you have successfully impressed your desire upon your subconscious mind. This is why the repeated use of your imagination is so crucial. Each time you return to your imaginal scene, each time you step into the feeling of your wish fulfilled, you are deepening this impression. Think of it like wearing a groove in a record. The first time you play the record, the needle may skip and jump. But with repeated plays, the groove deepens and the music plays smoothly. Similarly, as you repeat your imaginal act, the feeling becomes more natural, more habitual. It becomes your dominant state. This is the state from which creation occurs. When you can maintain this feeling conviction throughout your day, when it becomes as natural as breathing, you have mastered the art of conscious creation. Your outer world has no choice but to conform to this inner state. This is the secret to never-ending winning. But what are those moments when doubt creeps in? When fear arises? When the old patterns of thought and feeling try to reassert themselves? These moments are inevitable, especially in the beginning of your practice. Do not be discouraged by them. Instead, see them as opportunities to strengthen your new assumption. When doubt arises, do not fight it. Fighting against the thought only gives it more power. Instead, gently but firmly return to your feeling of wish fulfilled. Remind yourself that what you see around you is the past. Your new assumption, your new feeling is creating your future. This brings us to another crucial aspect of winning, the concept of living in the end. Living in the end means assuming the feeling of your wish fulfilled in your day-to-day life. It's not enough to visualize for a few minutes each day and then return to your old patterns of thought and feeling. You must carry the feeling of your wish fulfilled with you throughout your day. This doesn't mean you deny your current circumstances. Rather, you acknowledge them briefly, then immediately return to the feeling of your desire fulfilled. You live from the assumption that what you desire is already yours. For example, if your desire is for financial abundance, you would feel the security, freedom, and joy of wealth as you go about your day. When you make purchases, you would feel the ease and confidence of someone who has more than enough. When you interact with others, you would carry yourself with the assurance of a wealthy person. Living in the end requires a shift in your entire way of being. It's not about pretending or play acting. It's about genuinely assuming a new state of consciousness. When you do this effectively, you'll find that your actions naturally align with your assumed state, accelerating the manifestation process. Now let us address the role of action in this process of continuous winning. Some people mistakenly believe that manifesting means they can simply imagine their desires and then sit back and wait for them to magically appear. This is not the case. The secret to never-ending winning does not negate action, it informs action. When you successfully impress your desire upon your subconscious mind, when you truly feel your wish fulfilled, you will be inspired to take actions that align with this state. These actions will feel natural, even inevitable. They will not be driven by fear or lack, but will flow from your assumed state of fulfillment. This is a crucial distinction. When you take action from a place of lack, trying to get what you desire, you are actually affirming the assumption of not having it. But when you take action from the assumption of already having your desire fulfilled, you open yourself to infinite possibilities for its expression and expansion. So do not neglect action, but ensure that your actions are aligned with and flowing from your assumed state. Let your feeling guide your actions, rather than hoping your actions will create the feeling. This alignment of inner state and outer action is key to continuous winning. Now let us explore the concept of detachment in relation to winning. Detachment doesn't mean you don't care about your desire. Rather, it means you're not anxiously attached to seeing immediate results or figuring out how your desire will manifest. When you're detached, you can imagine and feel your desire fulfilled without constantly looking for signs of its manifestation. You trust in the process, knowing that as you maintain the feeling of your wish fulfilled, it must inevitably express itself in your outer world. Detachment allows you to live in the present moment while holding your assumed state. It frees you from the anxiety and doubt that can slow down the manifestation process. It allows you to enjoy the journey of manifestation rather than being solely focused on the destination. Practice detachment by reminding yourself that your imaginal act, imbued with feeling, is the reality. What you see in the outer world is just a shadow, a reflection of past assumptions. As you persist in your new assumption, this shadow must change to match the new reality you're imagining and feeling. Let us now address the importance of gratitude in continuous winning. Gratitude is not just a pleasant emotion, it is a powerful creative force. When you feel genuinely grateful, you are affirming that you already have what you desire. This aligns perfectly with the principle of living in the end. Begin to cultivate an attitude of gratitude for your desire, even before you see it manifested in your physical reality. Be thankful for it as if it were already yours. Feel appreciation for the abundance that surrounds you in all forms, the air you breathe, the sun that shines, the food you eat. As you practice gratitude, you are assuming the state of someone who has their desire fulfilled. This assumption, persistently held, must manifest in your outer world as the realization of your desire. This is another key to never-ending winning. Now let us explore the power of revision in manifesting continuous wins. Revision is not merely about changing your memories or rewriting your past. It is about recognizing that the past only exists in your mind, and therefore it can be changed in your mind. At the end of each day, take a few moments to review the events of your day. If there were any events that were not to your liking, revise them in your imagination. See them unfolding in a way that aligns with your desired state. Feel the satisfaction, the joy, the fulfillment of this revised version of events. By doing this, you are not denying what physically happened. You are changing the impact of that event on your subconscious mind. You are impressing upon your subconscious a reality that aligns with your desires rather than one that contradicts them. As you make this practice of revision a habit, you will find that your reactions to current events begin to change. You'll become less reactive, more peaceful, more aligned with your desired states of being. This alignment accelerates the manifestation process, ensuring that you continue to win in all areas of life. Let us now discuss the importance of persistence in continuous winning. While we speak of manifesting desires, it's important to understand that the speed of manifestation can vary. Some desires may manifest almost instantly, while others may take more time. The key is to persist in your assumption, regardless of how long it seems to be taking. Remember, the outer world is a reflection of your inner state. If you waive an assumption, if you lose faith in the process, you send mixed signals to your subconscious mind, which can slow down the manifestation process. Persistence doesn't mean forcing or struggling. It means consistently returning to the feeling of your wish fulfilled, even when the outer world seems to contradict it. It means choosing again and again to live from the end, to embody the state of having your desire realized. This persistence requires faith, not blind faith, but faith born of understanding. Understanding that your outer world is a reflection of your inner state, and that as you persist in your new assumption, your world must reshape itself to match it. Now let us address the role of self-concept in continuous winning. Your self-concept, the beliefs you hold about who you are, is perhaps the most powerful factor in determining what you can manifest in your life. Many people struggle to manifest their desires because their self-concept contradicts what they're trying to achieve. They may visualize wealth, but deep down, they don't believe they're the kind of person who can be wealthy. They may imagine a loving relationship, but fundamentally believe they're unworthy of love. To win continuously, you must be willing to revise your self-concept. This involves imagining and feeling yourself as the person who already has what you desire. It's not about creating a false image of yourself, but about recognizing and embracing your true, limitless nature. Remember, at your core, you are pure consciousness. You are not defined by your past experiences, your current circumstances, or the opinions of others. You are the awareness in which all these things appear. And this awareness, your true self, is infinite in its potential. As you use your imagination to assume your desired states, you are essentially recreating yourself. You are stepping into a new concept of self, a new understanding of who you are and what's possible for you. This revision of self-concept is crucial for continuous winning. As you align your self-concept with your desires, you remove the inner contradictions that can slow down the manifestation process. Now let us explore the role of emotion in never-ending winning. Emotion is the fuel that powers your imaginal acts. It's not enough to merely visualize or think about your desires. You must feel them. When you combine vivid imagination with genuine emotion, you create a powerful impression on your subconscious mind. This is because your subconscious responds more strongly to feeling than to intellectual thought. The emotions you want to cultivate are those you would feel if your desire were already realized. If your desire is for wealth, feel the security, the freedom, the joy that comes with financial abundance. If it's a loving relationship you seek, feel the love, the connection, the companionship. These emotions should be so real, so intense, that when you open your eyes and return to your present circumstances, you carry with you a sense of fulfillment, as if your desire has already been realized. This emotional component is what distinguishes effective manifestation from mere daydreaming or wishful thinking. When you can genuinely feel your desire as an accomplished fact, you are impressing it upon your subconscious mind as a reality. Your subconscious then works tirelessly to bring this feeling into physical manifestation, ensuring your continuous winning. As we near the conclusion of our exploration, remember this: the power to win continuously lies within you. It resides in your ability to imagine vividly, to feel deeply, and to persist faithfully in the assumption of your wish fulfilled. The secret to never-ending winning is not determined by external factors, but by the intensity of your belief and the consistency of your imaginal acts. Go forth from here with this knowledge. Apply these principles in your daily life. Use your imagination consciously and deliberately to create scenes that imply the fulfillment of your desires. Feel the reality of your wish fulfilled with every fiber of your being. Persist in this feeling even when your senses deny it. For as you do, you are reshaping your entire world, manifesting your desires with a consistency that ensures you never stop winning. Remember, you are the operant power in your world. You are limited only by your ability to imagine and to feel the reality of your wishes fulfilled. Embrace this truth. Live from this understanding and watch as your world transforms around you, reflecting the newfound mastery of your creative consciousness. The secret to never-ending winning is not something external to you. It is not a technique or a trick. It is the fundamental truth of your being, that you are the creator of your reality. As you align your thoughts, feelings, and assumptions with this truth, you step into a state of continuous creation, of perpetual winning. In your daily life, be vigilant. Be conscious of your thoughts, your feelings, your assumptions. Choose them wisely, for they are the seeds of your future experiences. Let every thought be a thought of victory, every feeling a feeling of accomplishment, every assumption an assumption of success. For in doing so, you are creating a life of never-ending winning. As you embark on this journey of conscious creation, of continuous winning, know that you are aligning yourself with the very power that creates worlds. You are stepping into your divine birthright as a co-creator of reality. Embrace this power, use it wisely, and let it guide you to a life of unending success and fulfillment. Thank you, and may your journey of conscious creation be filled with joy, wonder, and the thrill of never-ending winning.